because I found a lady who does custom mugs, and she's gonna do a spirit and coffee mug for me. Pretty cool. Pretty excited about that. Um, I think. Oh, is my Podbean? Oh, hello. Podbean not working. See if I can get it to work while I'm on here. I tell you, the intricacies of doing this and making sure that things are working the way they're supposed to. Yeah, well, it's showing that it's right. Okay, not sure why it's not coming up on here. Hey, can you hear me, Lingalonga? Can you hear me? Hello? I don't think that you can hear me on my podcast or my Podbean, so am I gonna have to, I guess, restart it? Let me end it. Sorry, guys, for the technical difficulties. I am trying to see. Can you guys hear me on Podbean? Let me see. Hello? Can you guys hear me? No. All right. Try this again. Ay, Dios mío, I tell you. Okay. Well, it's what happens when you try to expand. Let me see. Can you hear me? I don't think that they can hear me. So try to get this back on again and see if we can do, if I can do another stream. So I'm just gonna redo this whole thing. I apologize, you guys. The Podbean for some reason is not picking up the mic, and I'm not sure why. Let's try it again. Okay. Hello, everybody. There it goes. Thank you. So, Natalie coming to you live on the Spirit and Coffee. Cheers again to you on Podbean. Not sure why it wasn't working the last stream. So anyway, I found this lady, as I was saying, and the lady does custom mugs, and she's going to do a Spirit and Coffee one too. I'm pretty excited about that. It's going to be pretty amazing, pretty awesome. I was very, very excited yesterday. I talked to one of my followers, and her name is Wise Mackie, and we had a nice talk yesterday, just about consciousness and perception, and the experience of it and the articulation of what the experience is, and remembering that the experience is your own, right? It's not about my experience. It's not about what I'm up to. It's about what you're up to. What are you experiencing? And then how do you communicate the experience that you have? That's what's important. And I think oftentimes people typically don't really know how to communicate the experiences that they're having. Sometimes, right? We don't have the words, the correct words or the correct language to be able to express or communicate what is coming up for us. And so just talking about that, super helpful. And as she said, she's like, you just, it's going to come out the way it's going to come out. You're going to articulate it the way it's supposed to. And absolutely, that's the way it is. So was really excited to have that conversation. Good morning, Linga. So yeah, you're on now. Yeah, I know. I don't know what happened. Sometimes the mic doesn't pick up because I got a Yeti mic just specifically for my podcast, and sometimes it doesn't. I know we couldn't hear you. Yeah, thank you for that. So Linga, I want to set up a time. I would totally have you call in now. However, it's really hard to do, especially for the morning times, because I do a Facebook Live and they won't be able to hear you. But I still want to have you call in. So send me some times. It's been a really crazy roller coaster, and that's kind of what I want to talk about today is understanding how to set boundaries, because boundaries are super critical. What boundaries, and then where your tolerance level is. This is something that we've been discussing in my master's course, and I love my master's program. It's I feel like it's giving me different language to be able to communicate across a broader range of individuals, right? Because at the end of the day, I'm here to support you guys, but also I'm here to support myself, but also I'm here to communicate the experience, that in hopes that you will go off and try to apply certain things to your life to see if you can have the same experience, which is what? Abundance, which is creating your life, which is being your own beautiful self and recreating your life from a place of love and kindness and compassion and living into your birthright. So tolerance is a big thing, and boundaries. And we've been going over boundaries, and I like what they talk about with emotion, because we have a certain tolerance level, and that tolerance, if the tolerance is met, or if it over exceeds the emotional state of where we're at, we tend to lose our shit. Okay, that's the best way to put it. Now, it's because we mostly are not setting boundaries. And I love the way that this one lady talked about boundaries. She said, it's yes or no. Like, that's it. You either say yes to stuff or no to stuff. And the result of saying yes or no has an impact on how our life is shaped. Do we say yes? So, for instance, someone says, oh, let's go on a road trip, and you say yes, and then you go with this individual and you realize, oh, it turned out crazy, or it's too much for you. And then you're like, okay, then you get back, you're like, I'll never do that again. And then they call you up and they're like, yo, let's go on another trip. And you feel bad because they had a great experience, and you say, and you say yes again. Well, are you crossing your boundaries? It's okay to say no. No is not an easy thing to do, but understanding how much you will tolerate in your space is what's critical. How much will you actually tolerate? There's a level that you'll tolerate, and beyond that level, if we go beyond the level of that tolerance, right, then we tend to go into a space of discomfort or disease, or our mental capacity starts to go crazy, and then we start to experience the emotions that are uncomfortable, like anxiety or depression or sad, whatever it is. And it's because sometimes we're not setting the boundaries that we need to. I can tell you from my own personal experience that I was experiencing anxiety and I couldn't understand what it was. And I was trying to figure it out. I was like, well, this is it, that person, this. My anxiety has literally gone away completely, 100% done. Why? Well, because our bodies have a system inside of it. Our bodies are magnificent. I'll just say that. They give us cues. And when we understand what our body's telling us and we listen to our bodies, right, then we allow ourselves to really tune in to our emotional states. And so here's what happens. And I love this breakdown that I'm learning about, just to help people understand. If you're feeling uncomfortable and there are people in your space and you're not setting the boundaries that you need to, then what it is that we feel in our body before the emotional state in our mind, and we can put a word to it. So we tend to not pay attention to our body, and we tend to just spew out whatever comes to our mind, without realizing that there was a feeling in the body before the mind could even comprehend what the feeling was. Okay? So what I'm saying is, when we drop into our body, good morning, Jennifer, when we drop into our body and we allow ourselves to feel what is happening, we will then allow ourselves to see if the situation is something that we want to head towards or away from. Do we want to move toward it or away from it? Now, I can tell you that there were signs for me to move away from certain situations, and I didn't pay attention. And it's only because it was a new experience. I didn't understand what I was experiencing. It was all new, and the anxiety kept coming up. And I'm like, what is this? Okay. Thank you. I'm glad you have so much to tell me on this, Linga. And we could talk about this specifically if that's what you're interested in talking about when we get on the podcast. I would love to do that. And so I was in this state of anxiety that I never had felt before. Now, I felt anxiety before, but it's usually because I'm overwhelmed and I have to do laundry and all this stuff. And I know what I need to do to fix it. But everything was in order. Everything was good. And I'm like, why am I still experiencing this feeling? What is it? And I didn't understand it. Okay. So for me, I didn't have anything in my space that could give me sort of a cue as to why I was experiencing this thing. And I was writing about it, I was digging deep, I was trying to understand. I was like, well, is it this person? Is it that person? Is it this? Is it that? What it was there was too much energy in my space, and there wasn't a boundary set up for myself. And because of that, because my tolerance level, it was at an all-time, what I could tolerate was too much. My capacity wasn't big enough to tolerate the energy that was coming in, but I didn't communicate the boundaries right around it. And my tolerance level just eventually cracked wide open and I went crazy. I mean, I literally went crazy. Yeah, but it is still meant something, right? Yeah, but it still meant something. It did. And I learned a lot from it, if that's what you mean, Linga. I did learn a lot from that experience. And so what I'm learning right now too in terms of emotional space, and I understood this conceptually, and I've gone through it actually experientially. So I've actually dropped into the understanding of how we can stretch ourselves and then have breakthroughs, but never through the negative emotions in this particular way, or working with this particular energy. And I call it fire energy, that I'm not really, I mean, I have some water, but I'm mostly earth, right? I'm very grounded, down to earth, very stable individual. And perhaps communication is a good thing for me at times. But the fire energy that I was experiencing was new. And it came in the form of what felt like anxiety at my root, at my core chakra, at the very, very, very base of where I, existence. And then the feeling, right? The feeling was telling you something. Yes, the feeling was telling me something. And the feeling came up and I didn't know what it was telling me. That's the whole point. It's like I was confused. I was confused because I never had this feeling. Not in this way. Like I've had anxiety in the past, but again, I understood how to overcome it instantaneously. I'm like, oh, I'm overwhelmed. My overwhelm is causing me to have this anxiety. So then I would just be like, okay, I'm going to do laundry. I'm going to, clean a little bit. And then I'd clean and I'd feel great. This wasn't helping it. And I was like, I don't know why I'm continuing to experience this feeling. I have my practices in place. I have cleaned everything up. Everything is synergized. Why am I feeling this feeling? And I realized that the energy, right? There was a lot of energy in the household. There was a lot of individuals in the household. And I didn't have my boundaries set. So again, my tolerance, right, was at an all-time high. And I didn't understand that all I needed to do was to set those boundaries with individuals. And oh my God, it would have been a different outcome. Now, I did eventually set boundaries, but it showed up in a sort of distorted, kind of twisted way. And why? Because my tolerance, it was capped. I had a tapped tolerance level. The tolerance came up in the form of an explosion. And I laugh about it because it was like, yes and no. Okay, so how did you set boundaries? Just yes and no? Great question. And I'll answer in just a second. But it was, I turned crazy. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay. I'm not perfect. So it's funny because I was talking to Wise Mackie, and it's funny. It's like her and I talked about it. It was like, if people are looking for me for perfection, good luck. Like, we know we're not perfect. Practitioners of the great work know we're not perfect. I don't know shit. Okay, that's what I tell people. If you came to me to know something, guess what? Good luck. What I what I'm supposed to do, or what my function is to entice you to get to know yourself better. What do you want to do with your life? What drives you? What ignites you internally? And then continue to do that. But if you're going to look at me, you're always going to see imperfection because I'm not perfect. And I make mistakes all the damn time. Trust me. If I just hit myself on the head and go, oh my God, what am I doing? And then I laugh in the end because I'm like, well, that was great, Natalie. Good job on that one. And then I hope I learn and move forward from it. But to be able to go through this energy. So how did I set boundaries? No, the boundaries didn't come out as a yes and a no. They came out very distorted, only because I was dealing with some energy that I didn't really understand. Now, I started to reflect upon how I set boundaries with my family, because I have set boundaries with my family, and those boundaries have come in yes or no. So, for instance, your family will ask you for a lot of stuff. And if you keep giving into it, they want more and more and more and more. And that's typically what happens, right? They're like, oh, can you do this? And if you say yes, they're just going to keep asking you, well, can you do this? Well, yeah. Well, can I do this? Yeah. So when I was young, I finally said no. I'm like, no, I don't want to. And people got mad at me, and people were upset with me and all that. But to me, I was like, no, because I don't have the capacity, right? There's only a certain capacity that I have. And beyond that, it's going to harm my well-being. In other words, I'm going to get sick, and I'm not going to be good for anybody. So sometimes people call you selfish. People will call you all kinds of names. And trust me, I've been called everything under the sun by people, and that's fine. I'm like, if you want to call me names, go ahead. The reality is I have to take care of me. And if I'm not well, how can I support others? How can I help others if I'm not well? If I'm not taking care of me, how can I take care of other people? That's just crazy. Doesn't even make sense. So I was at my cap with this particular situation, and the cap of my tolerance was beyond. Rather than say yes or no, it came out in this distorted yelling session. And I laugh about it because when I get to that point, it becomes comical for me, because communication that way, it doesn't get anywhere. Two people yelling at each other and fighting doesn't get anywhere. Okay, I've never seen it get anywhere except for except for people, right, punching each other out or whatever it is that they do. But I don't ever see that there's any good results from that particular type of communication. Like, who wins? Nobody. It just becomes this big war and battlefield, and people get hurt. And then, before you know it, people are mad at each other and they don't want to talk, and it's crazy. But I got to that point. Only because my tolerance level was beyond its limit. So I exploded. Then I laughed about it. Then I made fun of the energy, and it totally pissed that other individual off, of course, because when you get to that point, for me, when I get to that point, it becomes this, I kind of think of, and this is going to be a weird character to bring up, but I think of the Joker. He's so mad, but in his mind, he laughs about it. It becomes this comical thing for him, and that's what makes it scary for individuals, is that he gets to the point of it's just a big joke to him. Now, we can learn something from that energy. We don't want to be crazy like him and just go out, but to be able to understand that energy is just, it's ludicrous, right? And come back to earth and say, okay, can we talk like human beings from a place of peace and communicate from a place of love? Now that energy, I can refocus it into something meaningful, because hurting or harming another person is not meaningful to me. Okay, that's to me. Now, some individuals might like war, and some individuals might like to spew that energy and fight that way, and they feel comfortable that way. But I don't think that it does anything useful in a relationship. I think it's useful energy for certain things, but in a relationship, not necessarily. So it was the tolerance level. Now, here's the deal. Was it a bad thing that I did this? No. What did I learn? That's the question. That's the important part. Did I learn something from it? And I think I said good morning to Mary, didn't I? Good morning, Mary. Good morning, Militia. And what did I learn? So I learned that I can stretch myself. And I love this. We talk about stretching ourselves, right? It's like a rubber band. When you stretch a rubber band, right, so far out and you let it go, it never quite goes back to the same form. It becomes a little bit bigger. So I stretch my tolerance level a little bit more. Is that a good thing? Sure. Because the next time that that energy shows up, I'm going to understand instantaneously where my boundary is. I'm going to be able to communicate it quickly. I'm going to be able to understand what it's telling me. Now, you had asked Linga about, that it was telling me something. Yes, our bodies are the cue to tell us if we are to towards somebody, towards somebody, or to get away from that somebody. Or that energy. It doesn't even have to be a somebody. It could just be an energy. There are red flags. They call them red flags. I had red flags from the beginning, and I didn't pay attention because I didn't know, because I'd never experienced this before. So for me, it was new. I didn't really know what my body was telling me. This is important. Listening to your body. So I was talking to a friend the other day, and then my friend said, this is what I'm experiencing. And the experience was, I feel this fear or this thing when I, go to my space or to the certain particular place. And I feel this. And what do you think it means? And I said, well, what I'm learning is that our bodies have this indication to tell us if something is good, or like stranger danger, right? But sometimes we don't listen to it because it's not really a threatening situation. In other words, a bear can run at you, right? If a bear runs at you, you're instantly going to be in your fight, flight, freeze, right? Your sympathetic system. You're going to go into like running. You're going to do something, right? Your heart rate's going to come up. It's going to be crazy. But you know instantaneously this is danger. So you're going to be like, oh my God. And you're going to run. You're going to do something, okay? Well, life throws stuff at us that don't look like bears. Sometimes it looks very attractive, or sometimes it looks very kind and sweet, but something in our body telling us that this ain't kind and sweet. Something in our body saying this is not right. Something isn't right. Now, does it mean they're bad? No. Does it mean the individual or the situation is bad? It could be a neutral state, but for you it's bad. For you it's not good. And for you to understand that and say, okay, you're either going to go towards it or away from it, but your body's going to tell you. Now, here's what we do. Our body says go away, and we're like, oh no, my body's craving some more of that, and we go towards the very thing that our body's telling us to stay away from. So when we start to listen to our body and listen to when our body says stay away from this situation, danger, no good, gonna give you anxiety, stay away, move away from it, don't continue to stay. So I literally stood longer than I should have because I just didn't know. I was like a little child in this situation. I didn't know. I didn't know what was going on. Did I learn? Yes. Is that good? Yes, of course it is, because I learned something new about myself. And I learned where my tolerance level is, and I understand where anxiety is, and I understand if that energy is supposed to come, what I need to do. Doesn't mean it's bad. Doesn't mean it's a bad thing. Just means that I need to recognize it in myself and tell myself what I'm willing to tolerate or not. So that's how it works. But if we can listen to our bodies, okay, I've learned, I've learned to tune in when I'm running, I'm sure, emergencies. My body tells me what to do. I stay off sugar and keep clean as possible. I love that, Linga. Yeah, and there's certain stimulants, right, that sort of ignite that and entice that energy in that situation, like coffee's one. Now, here's the deal. I drink coffee every day, and I drink about a cup, okay, sometimes two. But I don't get anxiety from drinking coffee. But then I started thinking, oh my God, am I becoming overly sensitive to the coffee? Maybe it's the coffee. Maybe it's this. Maybe it's that. And then, boom, I realized what it was. And it was an energy that was in my space that I didn't set boundaries with. And because of that, I started to experience things that I hadn't experienced before in my body. So now, coffee is a stimulant, RK, unless you're full tilt already. Yeah, I'm full tilt already. Like, I wasn't going to drink more coffee with that anxiety feeling. Like, I couldn't, because it would just like continue to stimulate that energy. But it's crazy. As soon as the energy exited, my anxiety went away completely. It was amazing. It was completely amazing. I was just like, whoa, this is interesting. So if you're in a high-stressed environment where this is constantly happening, I believe just setting boundaries is what's important. Now, I don't know, Linga, I know your situation's different because this is your job, this is where you work, and I don't know what kind of boundaries you can set. But even in your work, I've set boundaries with everybody, except in relationship, I guess, because I didn't know. I don't know. How am I supposed to know? I don't know. I know certain things, but there's certain things I don't know. And I could say that I'm like a child, in certain situations. This was a situation where I was like a child. I didn't know. I'm like, I don't know. I'm just going with what I think is right. How would I know? Right? I don't do this thing. I'm not used to relationships. I'm not used to that. It's not my go-to. But to set the boundaries up. Now, I've done it in work. When I was working in the American Lung Association, I was like, no, this is my boundary. I'm not going to work all day, every day. 7 o'clock at night answering, and I was doing that, and I was like, oh no, this is not, I'm going to set boundaries. And I did, and they were fine. And guess what? I was okay. Then I was able to disconnect from my work, and I was able to take care of my well-being. Now remember, it's that we do it for our own well-being because we want to be good for others. And if we're not good for ourselves, we can't help others. It just doesn't even make sense. And I think at the end of the day, that's what I said. Look, I don't have the capacity. Not that I don't love people. Not that I don't want to support people. Not that I don't care. I just have a certain capacity of tolerance, and my capacity was overextended, and I couldn't do it anymore. I just couldn't. So really super, it's an important message. Okay, protection is important. Need to process new stimulus objectively. Yeah. Or subjectively. Yes, sometimes you need to make decisions on what to connect with. Yes, and that's really important. Protection is important. The process that we allow ourselves, or the space we allow ourselves to go through the process, is important as well. And that's another space of boundary, right? It's like I need my space in order to understand what I'm even experiencing at this time. So I just need space. Give me space. But I didn't necessarily, with intent, I didn't necessarily do that. So do I know where I could grow and get better? Absolutely. Did I learn a whole ton beyond that? Yes. I didn't just learn boundaries and tolerance. I learned other things as well, other things that are critical for my life. So always looking at where is the lesson, how do we grow from situations, and continue to say, you know what, even if it's an individual or a situation and you have to exit, that you can say, you know what, I'm still proud of going through that situation because I grew and I learned something from it. Well, what did you learn? Because you could walk away from a situation salty and angry. That's not going to help you. Who cares? You're just going to perpetuate the same thing. I'm not going to perpetuate the same thing because I'm very clear about where I get to shift myself, right? This is your journey, not my journey. I mean, it is my journey, but your journey is not my journey. And you guys get to figure out what that is for you. You know what you can tolerate. Maybe you could tolerate more than I did. I don't know. Maybe less than I did. I don't know. It's really up to you, for you to do this and apply it to your life because you're the one living it. I'm not living your life. I'm living my life, right? And the same for everybody else. But there's always something that you can take away from each situation. And then in each situation, as you take away and you reflect, you can grow. And what I grew is tolerance and my understanding of what I will accept and will not accept, and the ability to communicate what I will accept and not accept right away. Not waiting, but instantaneously. This is not acceptable. I need this, this, and this. And on the same token, if someone's telling you to set boundaries with them, that you honor and respect their boundaries. So if they're like, I need this space, okay. I try to be cognizant of that with people just by looking at them. Like, I talk and I'm like, ooh, maybe I should go over here. Are you okay? Do you want me here? What do you what is it? And then if they're like, no, I need space. Oh, okay, cool. And I don't get upset because I understand people have a process they need to go through. Just don't want all that process on me because I can't even handle it. So there you have it. Hopefully this was helpful. I'm really, again, I'm loving my program. I think my program is really giving us the opportunity to hone in on the experience and then be able to communicate the experience in the hopes that others or other individuals get it so that they can apply some of it to their own life. Okay. So, start looking into boundaries. Just go online, do a search. I will see if I can post the video that I watched on this one lady who talked about your compass of yes and no and boundaries. She did a really good job. I even had my mom watch it. I'm like, Mom, you need to watch this. And, having people watch it to understand that it's okay to set boundaries for yourself and for you to take care and nurture yourself. That's critical and it's important, especially now. So there you have it. And thank you guys for being patient with the technical difficulties I was having. And again, I'm excited. This lady's gonna make a mug for me. Ooh, I'm excited about that. Yes, thanks, Linga. I appreciate it. And I'm excited to have you on. So just send me some times. And the weekends, again, are easier just because I have work after this and I have school and all this stuff. I have all kinds of stuff going on. But I'm in a space, in a capacity now that the anxiety is not here. And I've learned to manage it, and its energy's cleared and my brain is cleared and I have space. Now I can step into these other things. So pretty good. Okay. So if you want to maybe Saturday or Friday after, I think I have some time on Friday after this podcast, perhaps, we can do another podcast right back to back. We'd love to have you. Okay, so there you have it. I love you guys. Have the best day ever. Is it possible before? Yeah, we could do before, because if I'm just doing voice, I don't have to set up the camera. So yeah, we could possibly do it before because I know because it's 1 a.m. here. Yes. let's do before, let's see, on Friday. I guess I can get up at 4:30. We could do it like at 5, which I don't know what time that is here. Or we can do it in the evening my time, and that way it's the morning your time as well. I'm open to that as well. An hour before now. Yeah, I mean, let's do it at 6 a.m. my time, which is like almost 2 hours before. Can you do that? Yeah, that would be great. That would be great. I will send you, let's see, the email. I'll send you maybe my Facebook. I don't know if you have Facebook. 2 hours prior. Okay, so we'll do 5. So that's 5 a.m. You're not on it. Okay, so fine. We'll do it there. Oh, that's funny. Okay, so yes, we'll do it there. I'll email you. Okay, sounds good, Linga. I'm excited to have you. So awesome. So there you have it. You guys have the most amazing day ever. And I don't know what's going on with this. I will see you guys tomorrow. Lots of love. Bye-bye.